Everybody to, how many of you watched the videos, honestly? Okay, couple, thank you. Because you didn't, those who didn't, I can't not teach this stuff. So if you aren't watching the videos, I'm going to have to talk more during the class. I don't know how else to do it because I can't just not have you learn anything or watch the videos or so if we have to go back maybe in the second quarter to the other method where I just talk the whole period, I may have to do that because you can't just get through geometry on 10 minutes a day. If you're not watching the videos and reading the textbook, especially these next two sections, you're going to struggle. So I'm going to have to spend more time today explaining how to find slope and what to do with equations of lines and how to find perpendicular and parallel lines. Because in the last section, when we learn the distance formula, you're going to have to learn how to find the distance between two lines or perpendicular bisectors. And if you don't know how to find equations of parallel and perpendicular lines, section 5 is really going to be something you struggle with. Okay? So we're going to take more time in this period. You won't have as much time to do the work, but maybe if you guys would start coming prepared, I won't have to talk as much. If you can't, then we'll just go back to the traditional method and I'll just talk the whole period, which is really riveting, I know, but it's going to have to happen because if you can't look at the material that I've spent time finding for you and watch it, then I'm going to have to give you the same material myself. Was that fair? Okay, so if we have to, we'll just go back to the old method. You'll have the videos and stuff for resources, but I'm going to have to just give you everything that the videos do myself. Then you guys will just be on your own doing the work at home. Okay. Wednesday is the last day to get any grades you want changed. I am putting grades in Wednesday. I am gone Thursday, Friday to my mom's funeral. Okay, so I am putting grades in for the quarter Wednesday. If you don't have the grade you want by then, and you haven't retaken anything, whatever grade you have on Wednesday is the grade that's going in for the quarter. And remember, if I remember right, with the quarter, whatever, if you're ineligible at the end of the quarter, that lasts for 2 weeks. You can't get off because we don't run grades, I don't think, the first week of every quarter. Okay, so there's that piece as well. So you've got 3 days. Okay. So who can tell me how to find the slope given 2 points of a line? Close. Okay, the slope, when I ask the slope of something, it is the change in y, which is y runs up and down, right? So it's the change in elevation over the change in distance left and right. Rise over run. Okay, rise over run. So change in y over change in x. There are 2 ways to find it. Remember the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which really is just the change in y over the change in x. It doesn't matter which point you call 2 and which point you call 1, as long as you're consistent. So if I call this point 2, then y2 is here and x2 is here. It's not y2 is here and x2 is here. Right? You just have to keep the points consistent. Another way to do it, though, if you can't remember the formula, is something I like to call the triangle method. Okay? It takes a little more time if the points aren't plotted for you, like if you aren't given the line and the 2 points. But if you can't remember and you want to get the answer right, this method will work. Okay? So what you do is you just plot the points. 1, 2, -7, 5. Okay? And what I'm going to do is just figure out how many points it goes down, because this is kind of my triangle here. Everybody see that? Maybe if I'll draw it in, you can see it. So I want to know how many points in the y direction, and this direction is positive, this direction is negative, right, in the y. And in the x direction, this is positive, this is negative, right? Is that new for anyone? Okay. So if I'm going to this, trying to get to this point from this point, I go down 1, 2, 3 units, so that's negative. And I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. And that's positive. So my slope's negative 3/8. Okay, if I did it with a formula, 5 minus 2 is 3. Negative 7 minus 1 is negative 8. Same thing, negative 3/8. Okay, so you can find slope either given a formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you can't remember the formula, you're on the ACT and they ask you for the slope between 2 points. Just do a quick plot on a graph real quick, and then just ask yourself how many units down, how many units over, or how many units up, how many units left. Whatever direction you need to go from point A to point B, that's how you find the slope. It's the change in y, or the rise, over the change in x. Okay? Questions on finding slope? Okay, so in Algebra 1, and then those who had Algebra 2, we learned something called equations of lines. The equation of a line in this form is called the slope-intercept form. This is your slope, right? This is your intercept. And when I say intercept, I mean the y-intercept. And what is an intercept? Where it crosses an axis, where a line crosses an axis. So if it's the x-intercept, I'm talking about where the line crosses the x-axis. And if it's the y-intercept, I'm talking about where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay? And the xy axes look like this. Right? This is y, that's x. So a y-intercept is going to be where it crosses the y-axis. What is the value of x anywhere along the y-intercept, or the y-axis? 0. Okay, so this is a shortcut for you. If you're ever given a problem, and they want you to write the equation of a line, and one of the points starts with 0, 0, comma 1, 0, comma 3, 0, comma 7, they're giving you the y-intercept. You don't even have to solve for it. If that x-coordinate is 0, that point is on the y-axis, which is another word for the y-intercept. Okay? So that's something, it'll save you time on the ACT if you can recognize that. If they give you 2 points and want to find the equation of the line, and one of those points starts with a 0, comma, some value of y, they're giving you the y-intercept. Okay? So what I need to write an equation of a line is I need the slope, and I need the y-intercept. Okay? So let's go back to this problem that we started here. I found the slope, so I know m. But I don't know the y-intercept. And I could kind of look at my line that I connected and see if I could figure out where it crosses the y-axis. But on a lot of the problems that you'll have, some of them will be really easy, and it'll cross right at an integer. But this one, when I look at it, you know, maybe if I used a ruler it would be better, but when I look at it, I don't see an integer where it's crossing the y-axis, so it's really hard for me to tell what that number should be. So this is the process on how to figure out the equation of a line given 2 points in this form. Okay, what I'm going to do is start with y equals, I'm going to put the slope in that I found, right? I found the slope to be negative 3/8. X plus b. B is the y-intercept. B is what I need to find. But it looks to me like I have 3 variables. I have x, and I have y, and I have b, and I have no idea how to solve an equation with 3 variables when I only have the slope. But if you think about it, you actually have 2 points. They were given to you, and they are on the line. Okay, so if you're given a point on the line, and you know the slope, just plug that point in for x and y. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, you're just nodding your head because you want me to quit talking? Maybe? Okay? Because everybody in Algebra 2 nodded their head through this. And I've got lots of people that had no clue how to do it. And you have to know how to find the equation of a line in order to be successful in this section and next section. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I need you to tell me so I can go back and recapture what you're missing. Okay, so what I've done so far, just to go back, I have 2 points. I found the slope. I used the triangle method, but I could have used y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Either way works. I get the same answer. This is the general form of the slope-intercept form of an equation of a line. I plugged in the slope that I found into the form, but now I don't know the y-intercept, and I have to figure out what it is. So I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to use one of these 2 points for x and y. Okay, doesn't matter which one. They'll both give me the same answer for the y-intercept. I like to pick one that's going to be easy. To me, 1, 2, when I start plugging in numbers, is going to be easier than trying to figure out -7, 5. So I'm going to use 1, 2. So I'm going to use the point 1, 2, and I'm going to plug 1 in for x and 2 in for y. With me? Okay. So 2 equals -3/8 plus b. To add 3/8 to both sides. And 2 with the denominator of 8 is what? 16/8? Right? Just to get a common denominator. And 16 plus 3, then b is equal to 19/8. I could have picked some cleaner numbers, but I just threw them up there. So that is b. Okay, so the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points is -3/8 x plus 19/8. Okay, you have to know how to find the equation of a line given 2 points, or given the slope, or given the y-intercept, all of those things, in order to be successful in these next 2 sections. So if you don't know that, watch the videos that I provided for you if you haven't already. Go back and watch this recording, but make sure you understand. Okay? Let me just give you an example. If the slope is 1/2, and it goes through the points 2, 1, this was I wanted the equation of a line. This was a sample answer on the test that I just graded. Okay? They said that x was 2. Let me figure out what they did. I don't even know what they did. They wanted it parallel to the line x minus y equals 4 or something. So they put in x was 2, y is 1, and they said that had to equal the slope. Or so, I don't even know. I don't understand. So if you don't understand how to get this equation, ask me to do another example. Ask me to give you 2 points and let you try and find the equation of the line. It's a good idea. Let's do that. Thanks. That's good, Nicole. I'm impressed. Find the equation of this line. Get some paper. Yep. Find the equation of this line. Okay, so Austin said -1x plus 3. So what did you do to find the slope? Yeah, change in y over change in x. Okay, so 2 minus 3, 1 minus 0. So the slope is -1, so I agree. There's your slope, -1. Now how did you figure 3 out? Okay, you can. That was the right way to do it. It's a faster way. I gave you a point that started with 0, right? I gave you the y-intercept in the problem. So the equation is y equals -1x plus 3. Yes. But if you didn't remember that, which doesn't sound like you did, okay, you would have put in the point, right, trying to find b. That's not right. 3 and 0. Yeah, it is. So this goes to 0, and 3 is b. So I have the equation y equals negative 1x. There's my slope, plus 3. There's my y-intercept. Do we need to do another one? Okay. Nicole, what did you get for your equation? Y equals what? Negative 9x plus 4. So talk me through, first you found your slope. What was it? Negative 9. How'd you get it? Everybody agree with her slope? Okay. Now I've got the equation then. Negative 9x plus b. So how do I find b?
I used the first two coordinates.
You used 1, 4? Okay. So 4 equals negative 9 times 1 plus b, right? 4 equals negative 9 plus b. How do I solve for b? Yeah, sure. Add 9. So I agree with your slope. I don't agree with the y-intercept. What's that? So what did you subtract 9? What did you do? Okay. So what we do is we take this point, we plug in 1 for x, and you plug in 4 for y, and then solve for b. Does that make sense? Okay, so negative 9 times 1 is negative 9, and then add 9 to both sides to get 13. Okay. Anyone else get something different than this? Everybody got this? Okay, are we good to move on to the next? Nope, I'm not even close. I know. Okay, so what if I gave you the equation and asked you to tell me what the slope was? What is it? Negative 2. What's the y-intercept? 3. Okay. What if I gave you an equation like this? This is called standard form. Standard form is when x and y are both on the same side. Slope-intercept is when y is by itself and then x and b are on the other, or mx plus b. This is standard form. They're both equations of lines. They just have different algebra performed on them to get different equations. Okay? What would the slope be in this form? How would you find it?
Subtract 2 and divide everything by 3, right?
You could. So for you, it's easier to put it into slope-intercept form. Okay, so that's your strategy, which is a perfectly good strategy. What Braden said was he's going to subtract 2x to get 3y equals negative 2x plus 6, right? And then you're going to divide everything by 3. So y is equal to negative 2/3 x plus 2. So in this form, it's pretty easy. Once we get it in this form, if I asked you the slope, negative 2/3. If I ask you the y-intercept, 2. Okay? There's a shortcut if you want it. If it's in standard form, the slope of the equation of a line in standard form, this is a and this is b, is negative a over b. Negative 2 over 3, negative 2/3. Always. Negative a over b. If you can't remember the formula, then just get the equation into slope-intercept form. That's fine. Okay, but there is a faster way, and that's just remembering that the slope in standard form is negative a over b. Okay? Now, if I have this equation, who can tell me how I graph it? How do I graph this?
2 on y, and you go down 2 over 3.
Good. So I start at the y-intercept, which is 2. And I go down 2 over 3. Do I need more than 2 points to graph a line? I don't, technically. If I don't have a ruler, sometimes it's handy to have more than 2, but I don't. So I'm graphing the line. Okay? Now, we're going to get into the next part of this discussion, which is if I want to find the equation of a line parallel to this one, that runs parallel to this one, and goes through the point, I don't know, what points did I use? I'll just use 3, 1. Let's use a better one. 5, 2. I want to find the equation of a line that goes through the point 5, 2 and is parallel to this one. Does anybody know the rules for this, how the slopes are related between two parallel lines? You learned it in Algebra 2. You've learned it in Algebra 1. Nope. If two lines are parallel, their slopes are equal. If two lines are parallel, their slopes are equal. Okay, so if I want to find the equation of the line that goes through the point 5, 2 and is parallel to this one, what's the slope of the line I'm looking for? Negative 2/3. Okay, that's all I need from the first line. I don't need the y-intercept, I don't need anything else, but I've got to have the slope from the first line. So I know the equation of the line I'm looking for that goes through this point and is parallel to this one has exactly the same slope, but a different y-intercept. Well, we've gone through this already. We know how to find the y-intercept if I'm given a point. Right? This time I'm only given 1 point, so I have no choice. I have to use that point. I don't get to use either or. There's not 2 points to choose from. They want the equation of the line that goes through 5, 2 that's parallel to this, so it's going to have exactly the same slope, but a different y-intercept. And to find the y-intercept, I'm going to plug in 5, 2. Two equals negative 10/3 plus b. I add 10/3. And 2 is, with the denominator of 3, is 6/3. So b is equal to 16/3. So the equation of the line that is parallel to this one and goes through this point is this equation, negative 2/3 x plus 16/3. 16/3 is approximately what number? It's a little more than what? 5. Okay, so I would start at 5, a little more, and I would go down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3. We'll get close. And when I graph them, if I had a ruler, I just created two parallel lines, and I know they're parallel, they have the same slope. Okay? So that's the parallel lines. Perpendicular lines. Who can tell me what's special about the slope of two lines that are perpendicular? Did you, what, say it louder. Okay, reciprocal is one part of it. There's another. The sign. Yep. It's the opposite sign and the reciprocal. Okay? So if I want to find the equation of the perpendicular line to this one that goes through this point, the slope is all I'm worried about from the first line. So how do I find the opposite reciprocal of this slope? Positive 3/2. So the equation would be y equals 3/2 x plus b. I don't know b, but I plug this point in and I can find it. 2 equals 3/2 times 5 plus b. 2 equals 10/2. So I'm going to subtract 10/2, which is 5, right? 15/2, not 10/2. subtract 15 halves. Well, this is 4 halves minus 15 halves is negative 11 halves. Okay, so 11 halves is about 5.5 exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. And then I'm going to use the slope 3 halves. 1, 2, 3 over 2. 1, 2, 3 over 2. And so on. I know those two lines are perpendicular. They have the opposite reciprocal slope. So they are perpendicular. Okay? You have to be able to find the equations of parallel lines and perpendicular lines in the next two sections. Okay? What's the slope of a perpendicular line to this one? Negative 1/4. What's the slope of a parallel line? 4/1. Okay? So I'm going to give you, and this, actually I'll give you a new one. Find the equation of the line that's parallel to this one. It goes through the point 1, 7.